SEC fans, are you ready? Because it's not just a conference, it's a lifestyle. That's right. It just means more. Every Monday night, we're bringing you the adrenaline, the excitement, and the sheer awesomeness that is the Southeastern Conference. Get ready, because you're tuned into the only show that dives deep into the heart of the SEC. This is All Things SEC. And now, hold on to your seats, because here comes the man you've all been waiting for. Your host, the one, the only, James Ludeman. Let's get started.
I guess I should probably unmute myself. Happy Saturday night. Welcome into a special edition of All Things SEC. That's right. I'm James Ludeman. I'll be your host. We're going to hang out just for a few minutes. We're not going to take much time today, and we're going to talk a little bit about what has gone on week one of college football, and we are actually going to talk a little bit more in depth on Monday night at 7. Yes, it is Labor Day. We will still have a show. So I hope that you plan on tuning in wherever you are watching from tonight. As you can see the ticker down below, there are all the ways you can follow the show at All Things SEC on Twitter, youtube.com/All Things SEC. And then, of course, we are also broadcasting tonight on our official Facebook page, which you can also follow at All Things SEC. It has been a wild first day of college football. We still do have some games in progress as of right now. The University of Alabama currently leading 42-7 over Middle Tennessee State. And we do have a couple of other games to note as well. Texas A&M taking on New Mexico, currently leading in that game 49-10. And the big game on ABC at the moment, North Carolina ranked number 21, by the way, 31-14. Currently leading South Carolina. That game was very close at halftime. I believe it was only a 3-point North Carolina lead. I believe it was 17-14, somewhere in there. But now it does seem like the UNC has opened that up. North Carolina, has opened that up. And interested to see what you guys think. If you'd like to leave a comment down below, there in the chat, please feel free to do so. I would love to hear. It doesn't have to be necessarily SEC related tonight, but if you want to talk a little bit about what you all thought was, some games to watch today, I'll tell you, a very interesting game was not an SEC game. Colorado and TCU. Colorado comes into this game a 20-point underdog and just manages to win a game against a team that was in the national championship. Some believe it would be wasn't deserved, but others believe that it was deserved. So take your stance there however you want to. But regardless, Coach Prime in Colorado shocked the world today. I'd say that was probably the biggest upset of the day. And really everything else is kind of played out in college football exactly like we thought it would today, right? There really weren't any other big upsets. And if you ask people who follow Colorado, this wasn't an upset, right? If you know anything about Deion Sanders and his track record, this isn't an upset. This is not a shock. If you have watched Coach Prime over the last several years, this is not anything unusual, right? There were people, I was watching TV this morning, and there were experts who were just hammering Coach Prime, just hammering this man, saying that, he came in and did things the wrong way. He came in and cut all of his players. He came in and just did a lot of things that were not the way that they needed to be done, right? And listen, you can sit there and point fingers and say, well, maybe he didn't handle things right. If you know anything at all about Coach Prime, this is exactly how he handles things. This is exactly what he does, right? So not really a surprising turnout today, but it was a very entertaining game. I mean, Colorado TCU, that game may go down as one of the better games of the year, although we do have some pretty good matchups. One tomorrow night, as a matter of fact. LSU taking on Florida State. That's going to be fun. The game last year was fun. I have no doubt that the game this year is going to be probably even more fun, only because Florida State comes into this game with a lot of expectations. As a matter of fact, I will go on record right now on this program and say that I believe that this could be a preview of what's to come in the college football playoff. Now, both of these teams, LSU, of course, in the SEC, Florida State in the ACC, either one loses this game close, it really doesn't matter. It's a wash. Because if you win your conference and you lost to a team who won their conference, so let's say LSU comes in and wins, right? They win by 3. I don't know what the final is going to be. To be honest, I'm kind of scared to make a prediction. This is a toss-up for me. But let's say LSU wins this game by 3. Florida State goes down. They lose their first game of the season. Now, yes, they may drop a couple points. They may not drop very much in the top 25. But if they lose this game by 3, it doesn't affect the ACC ranking at all, right? It doesn't affect the standings for the ACC. And so they lose this game, and it really has no bearing on what happens moving forward. It has no bearing on what takes place for the rest of the season. Florida State, the only team that Florida State's really going to have to compete against at that point is Clemson. So, again, tomorrow night, there is a lot on the line, though, for this game. It's 2 top 10 teams, 2 top 8 teams, I guess, really, if you want to get technical. And there's a lot on the line for both of them. And both of them want this win. It's a statement win, right? So that's a game that we're definitely going to keep track of tomorrow night. Let's run through some of the other things that took place. Obviously, we know Utah defeated Florida on Thursday night, 24-11. Tough game for the Gators to drop on the road. And, we're going to talk more in depth about this on Monday, but I'll give you a little spoiler alert for Monday night, okay? My headline for this game is not that the Gators lost, but it's the fact that there were pieces in play that they actually could have won this game. I know that's going to shock some of you, and you're going to go, wow, you're nuts. No. Look at what happened in the game, right? And we'll talk more in depth again on Monday, so I'll leave it at that. But just look back and see what happened in that game and tell me the Gators, had they executed, could not have competed and possibly won that game against Utah. But we'll talk about that more on Monday night. Big game today in Nashville, Tennessee, not far from where I am. Actually, about an hour away from where I am at Nissan Stadium. Tennessee, the 12th ranked Tennessee Volunteers took on Virginia today. And yes, Tennessee won this game big. And they looked fantastic. It's like, drinking vinegar saying that. But Tennessee won this game big. And they deserved it. Had a lot of great offense. High-powered offense. We thought it would be. The defense was a little questionable coming into this game. I think they answered all the questions today. This is going to be a very good team in the SEC East. Can they compete against Georgia? That's going to be the big question. And they're going to get that question answered in a few weeks. And I'm telling you, it is setting up a big-time showdown for the winner of the SEC East for the last time, by the way, because Texas and Oklahoma, here they come. And we're not going to have conferences next year. It's going to be the 2 top teams that move on to the SEC championship. So interesting development there with Tennessee, 49-13. But the big story today, obviously in this game, it was Virginia's first game since the shootings back in November. They didn't play in their bowl game. They didn't end the season playing for obvious reasons. But this was we don't say this very often in sports, right? People do, but I think a lot of people forget that there are sometimes games that are moral victories, right? We don't like to say that often because in sports there's a winner and there's a loser, and there's whoever wins on the field. And Tennessee won this game, and rightfully so. They outplayed Virginia in every aspect today. But for Virginia to be out there for what they were able to do before the game started, lots of respect to Virginia today for playing this game. I know it had to be hard. It is not easy in life to go through a situation like that and to bounce back. And granted, they lost on the scoreboard, but I think they really showed a lot of heart by playing, and their coach was very happy for that today. And so kudos to you, Virginia, for being out there today. Continuing on, Ole Miss, just laid the bomb on Mercer today, put up a 73 spot on him. 73-7. That is outrageous. But you know what's funny is I look at that scoring. Granted, every one of these games, by the way, for the most part, with the exception of LSU and Florida State tomorrow, but every single one of these games are against teams who are not at their level, right? So I look at a game like this against Mercer, and you just hang 73 on him. Now, granted, Mercer is going to get money, right? They're going to get paid. They're going to get paid to play in this game, right? That's great. But, would you feel good getting 73 hung up on you? Because I would not. If I'm Mercer, if I'm anybody else for that matter, and there are a bunch of blowouts today we're going to read just real quick, but I would not feel good about that at all. Ole Miss dominated today. Their offense looked incredible. Their defense, under new defensive coordinator Pete Golding, by the way, former Alabama defensive coordinator, looked fantastic today. Lane Kiffin's got this team going. Now, again, I want to caveat a lot of what I'm saying today is based upon teams that they're playing, right? So SEC conference play is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be faster. You're not going to be able to make as many errors. But Ole Miss played a very good game today. And it's no surprise to anybody. Ole Miss has got a great offense. We know that already. They have fallen short, I think, the last few years, but have still performed at a high level. They've beaten Alabama, right? So, it's not impossible to do that. But, again, to hang a 73 spot on a team is impressive. Very, very, very impressive. So kudos to Ole Miss today. 73-7, getting the win over Mercer. All right, let's keep moving down the list here. Number 1, Georgia in action today, 48-7. They win over Tennessee Martin. And Georgia, slow start in this game, very slow. I believe it was only 7-0 for the first. I believe it was half. It might have been at halftime. And I had to go back to remember. We'll again Monday night when we have our show, we'll kind of do an in-depth breakdown. But yeah, Georgia started very slow. And listen, they win this game 48-7. Okay, it's still Georgia. They're the 2-time national champs back to back. So you got to put some respect on that name. But I'm looking at this and going, man, that's kind of slow, right? But again, this is a new quarterback, same system, good defense. And I think they'll work out the kinks, right? But you look at Georgia and go, they can't afford to start that slowly once they get into conference play. And I don't believe they will. I think the only team, again, I mentioned it earlier, the only team that's going to really challenge them for the East at least is going to be Tennessee. And after seeing their offense today, seeing what Georgia did today, that showdown is going to be fantastic. I can't wait for that game. Very excited to see that. I didn't see anybody else in the East today that could do it. I didn't. I'm interested to see what you guys think. If you want to leave a comment below, tell me, who do you think? Who is the team that's going to dethrone Georgia in the East? I didn't see it today, but I digress. 48-7, Georgia wins over Tennessee Martin today, and that's a good way for the number one team in the nation to come out big today. Just went final a few minutes ago. Texas A&M beats New Mexico 52-10. That is a huge win for Jimbo Fisher to come in and start the season off right. So Texas A&M moves to 1-0. They will take on Miami next week. That should be a fun one. And then really the bigger games of the month, again, conference play starts in a few weeks. They'll host Auburn on the 23rd. Arkansas, who won big today, by the way, look out for their offense. That's going to be fun. And in addition to that, they'll have Alabama on the 7th of October. So pretty crazy stretch of games there. Auburn won big today. We'll talk about that in a second. But, you like what you saw from Texas A&M. They played exactly how they should against a kind of a lesser opponent. So they will actually travel to Miami next week to take on the Hurricanes. So that should be a fun one. 52-10 again is your final score in that game. Alabama, again, as I mentioned at the top of the show here, 49-7 over Middle Tennessee State. Jalen Milroe, by the way, let's just talk about that for a second, because there were a lot of people coming into this game who doubted Jalen Milroe. And again, I preface this by saying they're playing Middle Tennessee State, who is, by the way, a decent program. They had their first top 25 win last year against Miami. So this is a team that has a fast defense and where they play, but they're not up to the same level. And I hate saying that because Middle Tennessee State's literally 25 minutes from my house. Well, more like 45 minutes, but still, they're close, right? So I look at this game and I say, man, there's a lot of question marks, right? Who's going to start? Who's going to be the guy? And Jalen Milroe came in tonight and just dazzled, right? Had a couple shaky moments. Sure, absolutely. Was not perfect. Sure, take it. But he set his feet very well. He made good throws when he needed to. He first touchdown was just a wild play. It was a missed snap from the center. Center hikes the ball way on the ground. It was a ground ball to the shortstop, and Milroe picks it up, runs it all the way in, breaking tackles, stiff arming people, and that just shows you that this kid is an athlete. And there's a reason why we say trust the process, right? That's why Nick Saban says trust the process, because there are so many people who doubt, well, they have a national championship team except for their quarterback. Well, I think that was silenced tonight, because again, even though these are lesser teams, and all of the teams that coaches would say that, right? It's not lesser teams. Just because they play in a different play, it's still college football, right? I think there was an anniversary today back in 2007. It was Appalachian State who beat Michigan, right? That's the best example that I can give you. Because you look at a team like Appalachian State at that time, who was the, quote, lesser team. But they held Michigan to single-digit scoring in the second half, and that's what won them the game. So you can look at this game, and it's now 56-0 now, as we've updated, 5:50 to go in the fourth quarter. But you look at this game as a whole, and you say, well, they're playing Middle Tennessee State. And they're going to have a tough test against Texas next week at home, right? In Tuscaloosa this time around. It's going to be a night game on ABC. The lights are going to be bright, and they're going to shine on the Crimson Tide, and we'll see. I think we're not going to see the real Alabama until maybe next week. But again, right after this, so coming up for Alabama, by the way, Texas at home next week. That'll be a top 15 matchup. South Florida on the road in Tampa. That shouldn't be a problem. South Florida, don't even get me started on there. They blew a big game today. That was a tough one. And then you got the 23rd, you got Ole Miss, who again, 73-7 today. Mississippi State on the road, which should be a tough environment to play in. And then Texas A&M on the road, Arkansas at home, Tennessee at home, LSU at home, Kentucky on the road. So, I mean, again, this is not a easy schedule for the Crimson Tide, and there's going to be a lot of that Alabama-LSU game could really set the tone and really make things interesting, not only for the SEC championship, but for the college football playoff as well. And so we'll keep an eye on that also. And I believe those are the only games that we have. Yes. So tough one for South Carolina tonight. It does look like, at least for now, that they're going to drop. Now, again, they're only technically down 31-17, but They have been held to 7 points in the first and second quarter and a field goal in the fourth quarter. That's not going to get it done in the SEC. It's not going to get it done. And there's a lot of people who want to hold on to this hope and say, well, they beat Tennessee last year. Yes, they did. But guess what? Last year is last year, right? You're playing a North Carolina team who, granted, May is a fantastic quarterback, by the way, could potentially be a Heisman winner, right? And I don't know about you guys, and this is something we're going to talk about on Monday, but there are a lot of really good quarterbacks in college football right now. There are a lot of very, very good quarterbacks right now, and thankfully, a lot of them play in the SEC. Spencer Rattler's one of them. May is not in the SEC, but still a very capable quarterback, right? I mean, just so many guys that you can look at and go, man, this is a very, very good team, right? Weigman threw 5 touchdowns today, 236 yards for Texas A&M. Georgia, Beck came in. He only threw 1 touchdown. He was 21 for 31, 294. I mean, Beck didn't play pretty much the entire second half. I mean, they were already up by that point. So really no sense in him coming in. Ole Miss, Dart started this game with 18 for 23, 334, 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's impressive. I mean, listen, this is a conference that has a barrage of talent from the quarterback position. And any team can win any day in this conference. And we've seen it happen before. That's why we're going to talk Monday about the Gators. Maybe the Gators aren't out of it yet. We'll see. They more than likely are, and I don't want to get hopes up, but it would be interesting to see how this looks for some of these teams and these quarterbacks moving forward. So that's going to do it for this one. It's a short show tonight. Make sure you tune in this coming Monday. I thank those of you who've tuned in tonight. I've seen some notifications come across that some people are watching. So thank you for your time. I appreciate that. If you could please just do me a solid, please go to Twitter at All Things SEC. Please also subscribe and like our YouTube channel, youtube.com/All Things SEC. Please subscribe to that channel so we can continue to do these live videos on YouTube as well. And then in addition, if you're not already, we do have a Facebook page that we also broadcast on. And those are 3 ways that you can follow the page. You can set your notifications every time we go live, which will be on Mondays. We probably won't have special shows every single week, but sometimes we'll jump on from time to time and we'll talk a little bit about the landscape and what's going on and kind of do some score updates and things like that as well. But hey, thank you so much for watching tonight. Looking forward to LSU and Florida State tomorrow night. Had a great day of college football. It is back. It was great to see College Game Day today. Great to see SEC Nation today. It was just a good day to wake up and be able to watch this. And, despite Spectrum, thankfully, we were still able to watch these programs. We're going to get into that Monday as well when we talk a little bit about all things SEC. So thank you all so much for watching. We will see you this coming Monday at 7 p.m. Central Time. That's 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, right here on All Things SEC. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend, everybody. We'll see you Monday night, and have a great Labor Day weekend. See you Monday.
Thank you for watching All Things SEC. We'll be back next Monday, and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. This is All Things SEC.